You ever watch someone destroy their entire reputation in one moment? That's what happened the day the HOA president stole my water tank. She thought she'd saved the neighborhood from a drought, until the faucet opened and sewage sprayed across her proud little community event. By the time the smell hit, it was already too late. Her kingdom collapsed right there in front of everyone. Act 1. The Spark. My name's Jack Turner. I'm 53 years old, a rancher through and through. My place sits on the edge of Montana's open land, where the dirt gets under your nails and the sunsets stretch forever. For me, the ranch isn't just a business, it's a family legacy. My grandparents broke ground here in the early 1900s. My father built the barn I still use, and I've carried it all forward. The cattle, the hay, the long hours, it's in my blood. But now, right next to my land lies Maple Creek HOA, a subdivision with identical homes, cookie-cutter lawns, and a set of rules thick enough to rival the Bible. And at the top of that throne sat Karen Whitfield. Karen, late 40s, bob haircut, sharp enough to cut glass pearls, always around her neck, was the kind of woman who thought community standards meant controlling every square inch she could see. Grass too tall. Fine. Wrong shade of garage paint. Fine. She once forced a neighbor to repaint their mailbox 3 times because she said the red was too aggressive. And then she set her sights on me. It wasn't my cattle or my fences. No, what drove her crazy was the sight of my old steel water tank. To me, it was just a necessary utility tucked back near the fence line, part of how I ran my land. To her, it was an eyesore, and as she started telling neighbors evidence, I was hoarding water. This was during a dry summer when everyone was nervous about wells and sprinklers. She spread rumors that I was secretly stockpiling water while families were asked to conserve. Flyers showed up in mailboxes accusing me of endangering the community. HOA newsletters featured blurry photos of my land with captions like, "The tank problem." I shook my head, tossed the letters into a drawer. My land wasn't part of Maple Creek. Legally, the HOA had no authority over me. I thought that would be enough. But Karen wasn't the type to stop when you ignored her. She was the type to double down. Act 2. Escalation and the turning point. Weeks passed and the pressure mounted. Graffiti appeared on my fence. Water thief. Garbage bags tossed at my driveway. Folks who used to wave now crossed the street when they saw me coming. I'll admit it wore me down. Nights got heavier. I'd sit on my porch staring at that old tank under the moonlight, thinking maybe, just maybe, I should tear it down. Maybe life would be easier if I just let her win. That's the thing about constant lies. After a while, they start to sound true even in your own head. I caught myself whispering, "What if she's right? What if I'm bringing this on myself?" I felt powerless, beaten down by nothing more than rumors and gossip. For a brief moment, I was ready to give in. But then something happened that flipped the switch. One night, I spotted movement by the fence. 2 men in HOA volunteer vests fumbling with the lock on my tank. They were trying to cut it open. My blood went cold. That's when I realized Karen wasn't just bluffing, she was willing to act. And if she got that tank open, it wouldn't just embarrass me. It could poison the whole community. See, that tank wasn't full of fresh water. It was sewage-collected waste waiting to be processed for disposal. If she spread that around, the consequences could be catastrophic. So I did what any rancher with brains would do. I set up cameras, documented every letter, every flyer, every act of trespassing. I even called an old friend at the county health department who confirmed that anyone spreading wastewater could be held criminally liable for public health violations. That's when the tide in my chest turned. I wasn't helpless. I wasn't wrong. I just needed patience. Karen thought she was digging a trap for me. She was really digging her own grave. Act 3. The climax and collapse. The day it all came crashing down started bright and sunny. I was feeding cattle when I heard engines down by the road. A convoy of SUVs and a rented flatbed truck rolled in like a parade. And there she was, Karen, standing tall in her heels, waving her clipboard like a general marching to victory. She shouted to the workers, "Cut the lock, load it up." I walked down, hands shoved in my pockets. "Karen, this is trespassing. That's my property." She smirked. "Not anymore. This community needs water, and we're reclaiming it. With cameras flashing, neighbors cheering, the crew fired up their equipment. The chains snapped, the bolts groaned, and just like that my steel tank was hoisted onto the truck bed. Karen raised her arms like she'd just saved the world. They drove it straight into Maple Creek Park, set it up like a trophy. By afternoon, they had tents, banners, and a loudspeaker. Community Water Day was plastered everywhere. Karen stood on stage declaring that the drought was over thanks to her leadership. I stayed quiet, parked at the edge, watching. I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. Because then came the moment of truth. Karen strutted over to the tank, grabbed the valve, and with a dramatic flourish cranked it open. The crowd leaned forward, phones raised, waiting for a miracle. Instead, brown sludge blasted out, splattering across the grass, spraying parents, soaking picnic tables. The smell hit like a punch to the face, raw, foul sewage. Screams erupted. Kids gagged. Parents dragged them away. People stumbled over each other, trying to escape the stench. The live stream caught every second, neighbors retching, slipping in muck, shouting at Karen. And Karen? She froze, hand still on the valve, face twisted in horror as her perfect event turned into a biohazard zone. I could have walked away, then let the humiliation be enough. But no justice needed witnesses. That evening at the emergency HOA meeting, I showed up with my lawyer. We laid it all out, the flyers, the fake letters, the surveillance footage of her cutting my lock and celebrating as the tank was stolen. And then the kicker, the health department statement confirming the tank contained untreated sewage. The room erupted. Parents shouted that their kids had been exposed. Neighbors demanded her resignation. Board members, once loyal, shoved their chairs back, denying they'd ever supported her. Karen tried to scream over them, her voice shrill. "This is a setup. He's framing me." But nobody believed her anymore. Not after what they'd smelled with their own noses. The vote was swift. She was removed as president on the spot. Sheriff deputies opened an investigation for trespassing, theft, and health code violations. I'll never forget the image of her that night, slumped in a folding chair, pearls askew, makeup streaked, while the crowd she once commanded turned their backs on her. That was the exact moment her empire rotted, just like the sewage she'd unleashed. Final line: power built on lies always collapses under its own stink.